Wow, dude, they did Vorel dirty, man. My boy, my beautiful human fish man has been rendered obsolete. Is it too much to ask that as time goes by here, we can get other characters, man? Zimone has like 14 cards. Let's give her a break, dude. She needs to go finish Hogwarts, for God's sake. She has homework, man. Now listen, bro, we're hopping in the time machine back to 2013. I built a little character called Vorel of the Whole Clade. So this guy was 1 green and a blue. Legendary creature, human merfolk. It's a 1/4 with green-blue tap. Double the number of each kind of counter on target artifact, creature, or land. This guy captured my imagination. You know, what artifacts could I delve into? We had the evolve mechanic back then. We can slap that around. There are some interesting combos you can get into too, man. Well, listen, Vorel is toast now. His reign over the mediocre counter-doubling Simic nonsense commander has been ended by none other than Zamone. And we're going to chat all about it. But first you got to slap down the damn like and subscribe buttons, buddy. Many thanks to the patrons and the members and the bros in the Discord. We actually have a thriving community based on love and kindness, brother. The Hyena Brotherhood is going strong in 2024. Alright, let's take a look at this card. Zimone, Paradox Sculptor. So this is 2 green and a blue. Legendary creature, human wizard. It's a 1/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. So that includes her too. You can slap one on her. Has green and a blue tap. Double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. And she says over here, extraplanar geometry isn't so hard. Once you get used to thinking in 12 dimensions. Come on, dude. I'm barely thinking 2 dimensions. This costs 1 more mana than Vorel, but doubles up all those delightful doubling and starts the chain with +1/+1 counters at the beginning of combat. Vorel also hits lands, so in that super specific instance, Vorel is a little better, but other than that, Zimone beats him out of the park, man. So let's dissect this while we mourn the loss of our beloved Vorel. Probably the easiest to abuse combo in these decks involved a little card named Magistrate's Scepter. So this is 3 generic mana artifact, has 4 in tap, put a charge counter on it. Has tap, remove 3 charge counters from it, take an extra turn after this one. You need 3 charge counters on the Scepter, then double them every turn and you're all set, man. Just keep doing that. Draw your deck and win with something else, most likely +1/+1 counter trample combat damage. You can also generate some huge mana with untapper auras like Freed from the Real, Pemenzora, 1 blue mana, untap our dude, you know. So that's 3 mana total to do the doubling, but what if we have one of these bad boys in play? The Pentad Prism, Crystalline Crawler, Gemstone Array, these stack counters. You can just remove them to add 2 mana, you know, untap it. Same thing, man. You just made all the mana out there, dude. These are also just great to have in the deck if you want a big surge of mana. Now you also have a suite of creatures that you can remove counters from to make creatures. Doesn't sound that great, you know, but you add Zimone in there and an intruder alarm and 2 mana dorks and you've got the makings of an infinite little token bro army. Outside of infinites though, you have a few interesting artifacts that interact with our sweet Zimone. Sounds like a Michael Jackson thing. You gotta get your Zimone. Now how about this card? Very unique card, the Darksteel Reactor. So this is 4 generic mana. Artifact has indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Darksteel Reactor. When it has 20 or more charge counters on it, you win the game, dude. That's it. So if you can get this thing with lots of counters and you're untapping Zimone, we've got an alternate win condition. 20 counters is only 5 activations of Zimone, if my math is correct. We also have this guy, the Eternity Vessel, 6 generic mana artifact, enters with X charge counters on it, where X is your life total. Whenever a land enters, you may have your life total become the number of charge counters on Eternity Vessel. It's kind of janky, dude, but outside poison it and commander damage and alternate win cons, you're indestructible if your life total is 9,000 or something. Now this one's a little farther fetched, but we have the Millennium Calendar out there, 1 generic mana, legendary artifact. Whenever you untap 1 or more permanents during your untap step, put that many time counters on the Millennium Calendar. So if you're clip-clopping something, tapping and untapping, it doesn't count, man. 2 generic mana tap, double the number of time counters on the Millennium Calendar. So this can double its own time counters, and you can double counters with Zimone too. When there are 1,000 more time counters on the Millennium Calendar, sacrifice it, each opponent loses 1,000 life, dude. That's a lot of life. Although it's a little harder to get to 1,000 than it is to 20, but it costs 1 mana. Gets more counters on it, but I'm not sure how many activations we need. You know, I can't do that kind of math, dude, but it's a lot. So if you have these little combos and strange interactions out there, but you're building a deck around jank. You know, that can be somewhat ineffective. Those cards are fun, they're interesting, but this is also Simic +1/+1 counters, man, that's it. Hardened Scales, Kamiya Whispered Hopes, the other Ozolith, stuff like that can definitely go in this deck and make a huge impact. One of my favorite mechanics from all the way back in 2013 is Evolve. I have a promo of Fathom Mage, right? 2 green and a blue, creature, human, wizard. It's a 1/1, has Evolve. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is put on it, you may draw a card, dude. Gorgeous card. It's the Little Mermaid on steroids, man. She's out there flapping in the sea breeze, dude. Powerful draw engine in a deck like this. Now, the old school Evolvers weren't much to write home about, but there have been some sweet additions over the years. How about this guy, the Watchful Rad Stag, 2 and a green creature, Elk Mutant, has Evolve. Whenever this guy evolves, create a token that's a copy of it. Don't mistake timidness for defenselessness, dude. I've said that many times before I rock somebody right in the dome, brother. We also have the Poliwag Prodigy out there. 1 in the blue, creature Frog Wizard, has Evolve. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell with mana value less than this guy's power, draw a card. Brand new out of Bloomburrow. Really sweet draw engine that's going to get really big in this deck. Brand new Clue exclusive, you have Alanis the Genetics Expert, so this guy's 1 and 2 hybrid Simic. For a legendary creature, Snake Elf Detective, it's a 1/2, also has Evolve. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on this guy, investigate that many times. So that means if you get a couple counters on, then you double them, you're making lots of clues, man. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control, which you can also double up with Hardened Scales and stuff like that, Branching Evolution. This guy is a nut. Real Scooby-Doo energy here, man. So we're making lots of counters, we're making Hydras and stuff like that. You might as well slap in Simic Ascendancy, green and a blue, enchantment, 1 green and a blue. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. Now, we can't double these up because this is an enchantment. Zamone only interacts with artifacts and creatures. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game, dude. This waits till your upkeep, but it's a must-answer proposition. It's going to get 20 counters on it real quick, man. Now, you also have this fella out there. He's carrying his sons on his back in a damn sphere, dude. Not one man among you can match this guy's strength and manliness, dude. He's a real dad. 20-toed Toad, 3 and a blue, creature Frog Wizard, it's a 3/3. Your maximum hand size is 20. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy, draw a card. Whenever he attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it, or you have 20 or more cards in hand. Just get doubling those counters, buddy. This will stack up real quick. Now, you definitely want to include some untappers, like that one Kiora Planeswalker, I forget the name of it, Behemoth Beckoner, Kiora's follower, and this guy, Zola Toyek the Smiling Flood. 4 green and a blue, legendary creature, Salamander Serpent, it's a 6/6. Whenever this guy enters or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island in addition to its other types as long as it has a flood counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, untap each permanent you control with a counter on it. There you go, that's awesome, man. You can activate Zimone at instant speed, man. Remember that. And don't forget Heroic Intervention for your countered up creatures out there. Mutational Advantage, 1 green and a blue, instant. Permanents you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to those permanents this turn, and then proliferate. Excellent card, only about $4. From there, man, you want to include lots of mana dorks you can untap, lots of Hydras, and you got yourself a deck, dude. I hate the character, I love the card though. But if you like the character, this makes this type of counter doubling deck twice as viable, taking it from jank to, you know, slightly less jank, fun. But I wish they would have brought back Vorel, dude. Just studded up with rhinestones and a sweet crown, man, out there like Freddie Mercury, tearing up the night. But that's all it's ever gonna be, dude. Just a dream, man. They buried Vorel. Zimone is the new queen. And that's better, Commander, dude. Nikki G, signing off.